This little example that I could give. So I reconciled myself to the reality that Gokul and Rahul left this world prematurely, but they were God's gift to us, and therefore they had a mission in life, and therefore we should not grieve over their leaving early. Everybody has to live. Some leave quicker than others, earlier than the others. This had a very powerful message. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, that article, along with another article which I had to do for Indian Express then, which appeared in the Indian Express on Kanchi Mahaswami, these two articles secured for me so much of goodwill from people known and unknown. One was put on the website of Kanchi Peetham. And when Akhilandeswari called me up and said, this is the message. So when I made a reference to this because Vijay Kumar and his wife, noble wife, are literally seeing in every boy in the city, Gokul and Rahul. That is why they are able to do something through this task. I was deep, I started like this before you came. So when, day before yesterday or 3 days ago, when so many boys, Vijay Kumar was very particular. He was not particular that Santamagaru was there or not, or I was there or not. He was very particular that the boys should be there. The boys. And the boys, that is why the highest Vedanta with which I began, it says, when you can see others in yourself, you are a karma yogi, realized karma yogi. When you can see your children in others' children, you are a karma yogi. Vijay Kumar, therefore, having overcome grief, such a terrible tragedy, is now recapturing the beauty of those young lives and passing on the message, inspiring the younger generation through this wonderful Gokul Chandra and Rahul Chandra Memorial Trust. That is why I accepted to. I wanted to send a message. The message is that whatever you have to share with others. There is no life without problem. There is no family without problem. There is no organization without tension. But all these things have to be overcome. And therefore, this is. Now, I shall start the real lecture part of it. Thank you very much. We analyze politics. Should we know something about politics? Should we know what is happening? 3 reasons are given by political scientists. Reason number 1, to understand the world around us better. What is this municipal corporation? Why are the roads like this? Local question. Reason number 2, what is going to happen to Andhra Pradesh after 31st? What is Sri Krishna Commission? We have to know something about. Reason number 3, what is going to happen to India? All scams? Nothing good is happening. Reason number 4, what is going to happen to the world? Climate change, etc., etc. You have to understand the world around you better. That is why political analysis is essential, number 1. Second important reason, to make intelligent choices in life, analysis is needed. This is a very beautiful scientific theory propounded by Professor Robert Dahl. To make more intelligent choices. You'll agree with me, all life is choice making and bargaining. The lesser among the evils. Suppose you have to vote. It's very wrong to say all the fellows are very bad, I'm not going to vote for anybody. That's not correct. You vote for somebody, the lesser evil, to make intelligent choices. Second important is. Third is more important. To bring about change, big or small, anywhere. That is the purpose of politics. Can you bring about change? Yes. If you can't bring about change in society, please bring about change in 1 or 2 persons. This is where Einstein very famously said, environment today, degradation is because of one very simple human error, human shortcoming. Everybody thinks environment is everything except me. That is the reason for global environmental degradation according to Einstein. Everybody says environment is everything except me, my house, my doorstep. So that is why 3 important reasons if you can bring about change. Number 1, to understand the world around you better. Number 2, to make more intelligent choices. And number 3, bring about some change, big or small, anywhere. That is the purpose of political analysis. Amartya Sen, when he said today, you must analyze politics because you have to understand violence. Tomorrow, for instance, let us not bother about Andhra Pradesh, the bifurcation, trifurcation, or some such thing will happen, may not happen, that's a different thing. But let us try to understand why violence is taking place. Not necessarily violence in deed, but violence in thought, violence in expression. Such abusive words, why are they being used? This is why political analysis is needed. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, the first important thing I shall restrict my time, my presentation to allotted. I have already digressed a bit because the reason why I am making this presentation I made in utmost humility. I said March to Freedom. When did this begin? Today is a very important day in India's history. Exactly this day, 1885, in Mumbai now, Bombay then, 72 persons met. And that was the birth of the Indian National Congress, founded by Alan Octavian Hume. Hume was an Englishman. Hume was an ICS officer retired. And Hume was such an intelligent man. You know what Hume said? In 1883, please remember, British might have been the enemies of India, but Englishmen were not. Many Englishmen were not. I shall give you a few examples. Hume made a beautiful speech at Calcutta University in 1883 and said, no, we cannot afford to ignore. Those days also there was Raitul problem. There were agrarian rights. In fact, from London, that great man Arthur Cotton wrote a letter in 1877. Do something about famine problem in India. He wrote a letter to Indian leaders. So Englishmen were great friends. Agrarian rights were taking place. Hume said, we have to solve this problem. Therefore, let us all come together. He said, we will form an Indian National Congress. It is a safety valve, he said. Safety valve. Safety valve means, otherwise what happened in 1857 might also happen here. What happened in 1857? You call it Sepoy Mutiny, you call it First War of Independence, massacre in India, such a thing might happen. Please remember, Hume was a very intelligent Englishman. In 1776, United States was not there. There was an American War of Independence. Many people were killed. In 1789, there was the French Revolution. Thousands of people were killed. Killing was so difficult those days. Guns were not so very powerful. You know what they did? They invented a machine called guillotine. Heads were chopped off like onions those days. And that was called the guillotine. A violent revolution in France, a violent revolution in America, and Hume wanted people to come together to prevent violence. Ladies and gentlemen, something very beautiful which we today mistakenly call it sectarianism or anti-national sentiment, etc. Parsis were 4, Muslims were 4, Hindus were 4, Englishmen were 4. The first 20 years of Indian National Congress were dominated by this. That is why somebody said Indian National Congress. Even Gandhiji said, I am very happy that the idea of Indian National Congress was born in the brain of an Englishman, not in the brain of an Indian. Now why? Gopal Krishna Gokhale mentions why it was such an advantage to have the Indian National. Gokhale said, no Indian could have started the Indian National Congress. If an Indian had come forward to start such a movement, there would have been uprising all over India. The officials in India would not have allowed the movement to come into existence. If the founder of the Congress had not been a great Englishman and a distinguished ex-official, such was the destructive power of the government, political agitation would have been suppressed. And therefore, it was good that Indian National Congress was founded by an Englishman, because otherwise, if a non-Englishman founded the Indian National Congress, the government and the police would have suppressed it. Hume was a respected Englishman. But many people give a twist to this. They did it because he was pro-British, which history research later proved that it was totally untrue. And Gandhi himself said, I am glad that this was born in the brain of an Englishman. So the Indian National Congress was born in 1885, and you know what Hume did? He called a Bengali, a Hindu, W.C. Banerjee, to come and preside over the meeting. The first meeting at Mumbai, Bombay, 1885, December 28th, 72 persons were there. Next year, next December, same 27th, 28th, they called another meeting. This meeting was held at Calcutta, and the second meeting was presided over by a Parsi. A third meeting, Chennai, Madras, it was presided over by Muslim. Fourth meeting, an Englishman. So that way, Englishmen, Parsis, Englishmen, Muslims, Hindus, they all rotated the office among themselves, bringing people together. And it was at that time that Hume very rightly said, the Congress is founded to promote democracy and freedom among people. That was the beginning. So that is a very simple, humble beginning. Then came wonderful forces into the Congress. One was Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Gokhale was a young man, a brilliant man. The other was Tilak. Tilak, an extremist, a radical, a fiery speaker, a staunch believer in Ganapati Navaratri Utsavam. Tilak made it very popular, Ganapati Utsavam. Today in Maharashtra, if Ganapati Utsavam is very popular, it is because of Tilak. These two persons came. Remember, when Tilak was there, Tilak and Gokhale were two different persons. How can you compare? Comparisons are always very dangerous, very harmful. A similar comparison was sought to be made. People said, who is greater, Tilak or Gokhale? Who was greater? Gokhale was a brilliant man, a learned man, Gandhi's mentor. Tilak was like Prakasham. So these two persons were compared. Gandhi was asked a question. Look at the genius of Mahatma Gandhi. Ela cheptadandi? Tilak great ante oka pramadam. Gokhale greater ante another pramadam. అందుకని ఏం చేశాడు చాలా బాగా చెప్పాడు. Gokhale and Tilak are two great leaders. Tilak is like the Himalayan mountains, great, lofty, unapproachable. You can only see the Himalayan mountains, you can't climb those days. Gokhale is like the holy Ganga. Take a dip, you are purified. Both are great. Which is greater? Is Ganga greater or Himalayas greater? That is how Mahatma Gandhi sorted out the riddle, both of them. Now, when all these things were taking place, two or three interesting things also must be presented to you. The second part of 19th century, youngsters, you know more about American history, you talk more about China today, but we know very little about India. Second half of 19th century was a great century. 1857, the mutiny was over. 1861, Tagore was born. 1869, Gandhiji was born. 1870, 72, etc., etc., Prakasham, Aurobindo Ghosh, Vivekananda, all of them you find arriving on the scene. Vivekananda arrived on the scene. An interesting story is, Prakasham was a boy of 12 years when cricket arrived in India. Cricket was becoming very popular. ఇది ఎక్కడో కొంచెం స్టడీ చేసి ఒక చిన్న ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ లాగా జాగ్రత్తగా ప్రిజర్వ్ చేసి అక్కడే చెప్దాం. The first cricketer in Indian politics or first Indian political leader to have played cricket was Tangudur Prakasham. That credit comes to Andhra. There were two teams. 1884 and he was a boy of 12 years. Two teams. One team led by Prakasham. The other team was by somebody else. Buying stumps, no money. Cricket was a costly game. So they had no money, the boys. But they wanted to play cricket. Look at luckily the children of today, my grandsons and others, they don't have such a problem. But we had such a problem. We had a problem getting a tennis racket. So for 2-3 years I played with a borrowed tennis racket, which the head of which was bent. All that they stole at midnight. When they were stealing this crop about to be sent to market, the police came and arrested them. So these fellows were taken to the police station. Prakasham was the first cricket player in Indian politics. He played in 1884. Marvelous reply. Don't earn money. I don't want money. ఐ డోంట్ సేవ్ మనీ అన్నాడు. హీ ఆల్వేస్ స్పెంట్ ఇట్. అదర్స్ అయినా సరే స్పెండ్ చేసేవాడు. నేను ఐ డోంట్ ఎర్న్ మనీ, ఐ డోంట్ వాంట్ మనీ, ఐ డోంట్ సేవ్ మనీ, దిస్ ఈస్ ద ఫిలాసఫీ ఆఫ్ మై లైఫ్ అన్నాడు ప్రకాశం. అండ్ ప్రకాశం, ప్లీజ్ రిమెంబర్, like Gandhi, did not leave a rupee in the bank for his children or a yard of space as property he used to. ఆ రోజుల్లో I'm mentioning this because many beautiful things happened. That was the time when Gurzada Apparao and others were rising. Many streams in Tamil Nadu also, Madras also, Renaissance was taking place. He calls it India's freedom struggle was possible because of a Renaissance that was taking place. Cultural efflorescence, as you call it. Tagore writing poetry. Gurzada Apparao here. And there in Tamil Nadu, protest against orthodoxy. Many beautiful things were happening. Many streams were converging. Philosophy. And another great man was there on the horizon, Aurobindo Ghosh. Aurobindo came from London, passed the ICS, did not join the government, was involved in a violent agitation, then withdrew, settled in Pondicherry, and in jail he had a vision of Lord Krishna. కృష్ణుడు జైల్లో, ఏ జైల్లో కృష్ణుడు పుట్టాడు, ఆ జైల్లో కృష్ణుడు దర్శనం ఇచ్చాడు అరబిందోకి అని చెప్తారు. దట్స్ ఎ బిలీఫ్. సిఆర్ రెడ్డి గారు ఒకసారి చాలా బాగా వస్తూ ఆయన అన్నాడు, జోన్ ఆఫ్ ఆర్క్ తెలుసు కదా మీకు, జోన్ ఆఫ్ ఆర్క్ ఫేమస్ సెయింట్. ఇఫ్ జోన్ ఆఫ్ ఆర్క్ హ్యాడ్ heard heavenly voices, she heard the voice of God, Aurobindo had heavenly visions in jail. So he saw God in jail. Joan of Arc heard God's voice. Anta great people వచ్చారండి. మధ్యలో the most outstanding of them all, the most inspiring of them all, my young friends, please go to Kanyakumari once, go to Vivekananda Kendra and see the glory and greatness of India. Swami Vivekananda arrived, the monk. And the monk who came from, ఆయన 1893లో షికాగో కాంగ్రెస్లో మాట్లాడితే అక్కడ ప్రొఫెసర్ ఒక ఆయన లేచి ప్రెజెంట్ చేస్తూ, all the professors put together are not equal to this wandering monk from India అన్నాడు. The great man. And it was a stirring, inspiring. Believe me, the distance between the rock where there is a memorial today and the coast is nearly 3 kilometers. He swam across. There he did tapas for 3 days on the rock. Had a glorious vision of the Divine Mother where 3 oceans meet. The Bay of Bengal, the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea. He had a marvelous vision. And he wanted to totally change the Indian society. అప్పుడు అంటాడు, give me 50 good strong men, I shall change the face of India. Give me 500 men, I shall change the face of India. Give me 50 strong men and women, I shall change the face of India. To Hindus, Vivekananda presented Vedanta as an instrument of spiritual and moral revolution. Hinduism is not this. This is not the Hinduism. కోపం వచ్చింది ఆయనకి ఈ ఆర్థడాక్సీ మీద. ఆయన అంటాడు ఒక స్పీచ్లో, think of the last 600 or 700 years of degradation when grown-up men, it is superstition, orthodoxy, when grown-up men have been discussing for years whether they should drink a glass of water with the right hand or the left hand. ఏ చేతులు తాగాలి? గార్గిల్ 5 or 6 times. మరి మీరు చెప్తుంది ఎంత నిజంగా కరెక్ట్ అయినట్లయితే ఇదివరకు ఎవరు ఇలాంటి చెప్పలేదేమని అడిగారు. అంటే ఆయన అంటాడు, why if this was so it had not been mentioned by any of the old masters? They asked him. Swamiji said, because I was born for this and it was left for me to do so. You are all waiting for me అన్నాడు. సో అంటూ ఒక ప్రొఫౌండ్ స్టేట్మెంట్ ఇస్తాడు. I do not believe in a God who cannot give us bread here, giving eternal bliss in heaven. That's not a God for me. A God who can't give me bread here cannot give me eternal bliss. అంటూ ఆయన ఉద్రేకం అంటూ బ్రహ్మాండం ఒక ఎవేకన్ చేసి పరిశాడు. సర్వీస్ గురించి మాట్లాడుతూ, నేను అందుకనే ఇందాక మొదట్లో చెప్పాను, మళ్ళీ చెప్పకూడదు, బాగుండదు, ఆయన ఎందుకు అభిమానిస్తాను అని చెప్పాను విజయ్ కుమార్ని. డొనేషన్ చేస్తూ ఉంటాం. ఒకసారి గాంధీ గారు చెప్పాడు, డోనర్స్ నేమ్ షుడ్ నెవర్ గో విత్ చారిటీ అన్నాడు. గవర్నమెంట్ వాళ్ళు ఒక ₹1 ఇస్తే ఎంపీ గారికి, ఎమ్మెల్యే గారికి బస్ షెల్టర్ కట్టించేసి తండ్రి పేరు ఎవరి పేరు పెట్టించుకుని వీరు ఇచ్చినటువంటి ప్రజలకి కానుక అని చెప్పిస్తాం. ఎవరి డబ్బు అండి? ప్రజల డబ్బే కదండి మనం ఇచ్చేది తీసుకుని. అంటే వివేకానంద అంటాడు సరే, ది ఇండియన్ ట్రెడిషన్ సేస్ దట్ చారిటీ షుడ్ బి anonymous అండ్ సైలెంట్. ఒక బ్యూటిఫుల్ మెటఫర్ వాడండి. It is like the morning dew that falls unseen and unheard, but brings into blossom the fairest of flowers. What a beautiful thing it is. It is like the morning dew. Morning మంచి కనిపిస్తుంది కదండి, ప్లేన్లో ఉన్న వాళ్ళకి పాప ఇబ్బంది మార్నింగ్ dew అలాగానండి. It is like the morning dew that falls unseen and unheard, but brings into blossom the fairest of flowers. The fairest of flowers come into blossom. This was Swami Vivekananda. Please remember, Indian freedom struggle, my point is not just a political freedom struggle. That was a time when whole of Andhra was transformed by one great Englishman, Sir Arthur Cotton, whose portrait I'm very glad Vijay Kumar, Ramakotagar and others, they have put it here. They see him every day. He's a god to us. The man who gave us water. He converted water into wealth. Bhujangarar me andariki telusu. Converted water into wealth. Arthur Cotton. And he was God, entered the pantheon of Hindu gods, Arthur Cotton. గోదావరిని లిక్విడ్ గోల్డ్ అన్నాడండి, తీసుకొచ్చేసి అపర భగీరథుడు అంటారండి. ఇస్ అ మ్యాన్, హీ వాస్ ద మ్యాన్. సో ది పాయింట్ ఈస్ దెర్ వాస్ అ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్ టేకింగ్ ప్లేస్ ఆల్ ఓవర్. ఇప్పుడు ఒక ఆయన అన్నాడు, గోదావరిని కాటన్ దొరగారు మార్చేశాడు కదా, ఇంత మార్పు వచ్చిందండి, ప్రజలకు ఏమైనా బెనిఫిట్ వచ్చిందంటే ప్లీజ్ రిమెంబర్, ఇండియన్ నేషనల్ కాంగ్రెస్ దట్ వాస్ బోర్న్, దట్స్ ద బర్డెన్ ఆఫ్ మై ప్రెజెంటేషన్ టుడే. December 28th పుట్టినటువంటి ఇండియన్ నేషనల్ కాంగ్రెస్, ప్లీజ్ రిమెంబర్, వాజ్ నాట్ క్రియేటెడ్ బై Englishmen for the rich and the elite classes. It was a congress that had all. That is why the leftists also accepted it. A congress for the poor, a congress for every Indian, a congress that was meant to inspire, awaken every Indian boy and girl, bring them together and convert people into a nation. And for that, please remember, poets, philosophers, saints and engineer builders like Sir Arthur Cotton were responsible. అన్ని జరుగుతూ వచ్చాయండి. ఆ టైంలో ఏంటంటే ముంబైలో టెక్స్టైల్ ఇండస్ట్రీ స్టార్టెడ్ గోయింగ్. Another beautiful thing, railways came into being in 1853 in India. And railway line, Vizag first railway line 1893. ఒక ఆయన జోక్ చేస్తూ బ్రిటిష్ ఆయన అన్నాడు, మీరు ట్రైన్ ఇచ్చేసారు ఇండియన్స్కి, దానికి ప్రమాదం ఉంది. ఏంటో ప్రమాదం అంటే, ఆల్ ఇండియన్స్ విల్ బి యునైటెడ్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ ట్రైన్స్. Unification of India began to take place because people from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from north to they travel by the train. So railways have become the biggest integration force of India. ఇదే టైంలో చూడండి, a wonderful lady came from England by Annie Besant. ఆవిడ ఉంటుంది, ఐఎమ్ an Indian Tom waking up all sleepers so that they may wake and work for their motherland.
Respected elders of Vizag and friends, Namaskaram. I welcome you all to this talk, the second in the series by Dr. Prasanna Kumar Garu, which are being recorded for the posterity. So hence, I request all the audience to kindly either switch off their mobiles or keep them in silent mode. I am Rangarajan, President of Ahamahamika Forum, and on behalf of our leader, Dr. S. Vijay Kumar Garu. So for those who have not attended this lecture in the first lecture, so we thought of requesting Dr. Prasanna Kumar Garu to deliver the lectures, obviously because of his knowledge and the oratory skills, and archive their video recordings. So this is in that series. This is the second of its lectures series. So I am entitled to actually start today with the vote of thanks, which Sir has prevented me last time. This will be definitely off the video record. So because at the end when I attempted to thank him, he said no vote of thanks. So when sir says anything, naturally first thing is to obey. So in that perturbance and confusion, so I actually I couldn't get the opportunity to thank sir for all the good words he talked about my parents, which I cherish throughout my life. And on behalf of Dr. Vijay Kumar Gar also, I thank him for the good words he showered on him. So this, without much introduction is not required for either Dr. Prasanna Kumar Garu or to the subject which he is going to talk, and I am nobody to talk even as introduction to that. So without standing between you and him, I request sir to kindly deliver your lecture on making of the Constitution. Thank you, sir. Dr. Prasanna Kumar. So
Sri Rangarajan, Dr. Vijay Kumar, and esteemed elders and well-wishers. My first duty is to thank Sri Rangarajan for putting pressure on me for almost 1 year that I should speak every month on a topic which will be recorded and circulated if it is useful among students, especially the younger generation. He has given me homework, and I have been very carefully doing that job ever since he gave me the assignment. Dr. Vijay Kumar is an extraordinarily rare human being. తెలుగులో చెప్పాలంటే ఆయన మంచి పని చేయకుండా ఉండలేరు. ఇది మంచి పని అని అనుకోవడం నాకు అహంభావమో మరి అలా అంటలేదు. ఆయన ఉద్దేశం ఏంటంటే ఇట్ షుడ్ బి యూస్ఫుల్ టు ది యంగర్ జనరేషన్ అని చెప్పి ఆయన వెంటనే ముందుకు వచ్చారు. I just cannot say no to Rangarajan because last time I showed some pictures also how his noble parents, his mother made me a commentator of All India Radio as a program executive. In 1964 she came here, took my audition and then made me a comment. His father was a guide throughout, and I have great respect and gratitude for both of them. And so when Mr. Rangarajan said you must do it, I hesitated for 1 year, and then finally I, in all humility, agreed to do so. I cannot thank Vijay Kumar and Rangarajan adequately for their kindness. Thank you very much. God bless you. This is a learning experience for me, a humbling experience also. Because the more I tried to read, the smaller I felt. The idea behind these lectures is that we must know what exactly they did. As Barker very brilliantly said, we are what we are because they were what they were. That's a beautiful line. We are what we are because they were what they were. And when we go through the pages of, stirring pages of history of India's freedom movement, like 2 days ago I felt ashamed that when somebody comes and says you are working very hard, you are in 70s, you are doing this and that. My God, Mahatma Gandhi walked 116 miles in 2 days without food. For whom? To bring Hindus and Muslims together. Sardar Patel and Nehru spent sleepless nights. There is a beautiful letter written by K.M. Munshi in the Constituent Assembly. So what a wonderful letter. Patel and Nehru represented two different ideologies. All of us know. There is also a strong feeling that they were quarreling all the time. Maybe true. Husband and wife also quarrel. It's part of life. But then Munshi very beautifully says, at the end of the day, it seems they used to sit for half an hour, 1 hour, almost every day. Where did we disagree? How can we come together? They used to sort out their differences because their goal was India's freedom and making of a nation. Such lines really, they bring tears to one's eyes when you go through them. What enormous sacrifice, what great sacrifice they made. Anyway, very interestingly, the first lecture was organized on December 28th. We chose that day. That was Tuesday, December 28th, 2010. Exactly that day, 1885, 72 persons met at Bombay, the first session of the Indian National Congress. We made a reference to that. Exactly 28 days later, on 25th of January, we are meeting here. This is also a historic day. I shall come back to that. On this day, in the Constituent Assembly, some stirring speeches were made.